YouTube channel. My name is Titiano. Last time we looked at polynomial and we continue with polynomial 2. We'll be continuing with the continuation of polynomial. And last class we looked at the substitution of polynomial, we looked at the addition of polynomial, we looked at the subtraction, we looked at the multiplication where we were looking at the scalar and polynomial multiplication. And to take it a little bit step further today, we will be looking at the division of polynomial. So the division of polynomial, that is how to divide polynomials. And under the division of polynomials, the basic thing for division of polynomial is something of this nature, 5/2. And if you can recall very well, they taught us when we were in primary school that if you want to divide 5/2, 2 in 5 will give us 2, 2 times 2 will give us 4, and then you subtract. So we will have it as well 5 minus 4. And what is 5 minus 4? 1. And now we have it as 5/2 is equals to 2 whole number plus 1/2. So that means this 2 whole number is what we are having here. This one is what we are having here. And this 2 is what we are having here. And this is the basis of the division of polynomial. Now to break it down, this 2 under polynomial is what we term as a quotient. This 1 under polynomial is what we term as a remainder. This 5 under polynomial is what we term as a dividend. And this 2 under polynomial is what we term as a divisor. Now from this we can now change it to a polynomial equation to have a function of x divided by x minus a. And that will give us what? The quotient of x plus the remainder over the divider. For instance, 2 whole number is the quotient of x, this one is the remainder, and this 2 is the divider. Sorry, the divisor. And the divisor here is what? Is x minus a. And that is how we divide division of polynomial. Now let's look at a question on that. Let us divide x squared plus 5x minus 6 with x plus 4. How can we divide it? We are going to take it to the long division to use our x plus 4 to divide what? X squared plus 5x minus 6. And from this, if you want to divide, you will use your first x to divide the first x. So let us divide. What is x squared minus x? That will give us x. And then you use this value to multiply everything. So if you use the value to multiply everything, what do we have? X times x will give us x squared, and x times 4 will give us plus 4x. And after the multiplication, what will you do? We subtract. So let's subtract. What is x squared minus x squared? We have it as 0. What is 5x minus 4x? We have it as x. And then minus 6 will come down. Looking at this, we can still see that x can still divide. Use this x to divide this x. What do we have? We have it as 1. And use this one to multiply everything. What do we have? We have it as x plus 4. And after that, you subtract. So if you subtract this, we have it as minus 10. So all what we are doing under the division of polynomial is to divide, to multiply, and to subtract. And from this place, we can quickly conclude that your quotient is x plus 1, while your remainder is what? Is minus 10. Now let's look at a question again under the division of polynomial. Let's look at this. They say find the quotient and the remainder when x minus 2 divides x raised to power 3 plus 4x squared plus 5x minus 4. So that means they're asking us to find the quotient and the remainder when this man divides this. And that means we will take it to the long division. And taking it to the long division, what do we have? We have it as this. And from this thing, we have it as you use the first x to divide the first x. That means what is x cubed over x? That will give us x squared. And this x squared, you use it to multiply everything. So let's use this x squared to multiply everything. X squared times x will give us x cubed. And x times this will give us what? Minus 2x squared. And after multiplying, what do? We subtract. So what is x cubed minus x cubed? That's 0. From this place, what is 4x squared minus 2x? That will give us 6x squared. And everything here will come down. We have it as 5x minus 4. And this x also, we divide this. What do we have? We have it as what? As 6x. This 6x, we multiply everything. We have it as 6x squared minus 12x. And also, we subtract. If we subtract this 5x minus 12x, we give us 17x minus 4. And again, your x can still divide. Use this x to divide this x. What do we have? We have it as plus 17. And this 17 we multiply. What do we have it as? 17x minus 34. And if you subtract, what do we have? Minus 4 minus 34. That will give us minus 4 plus 34. And that means our remainder is 30. So from this place, we will now conclude that our quotient will give us x squared plus 6x plus 17, while our remainder will give us 30. So that is how we divide under polynomial. Now let us now take this down to, now let's look at the first question. They said we should find the remainder when x minus 2 divides x cubed minus 4x squared plus 5x plus 6. Now, when you want to find the remainder, you don't need to go through the long division again. What you just need to do is to equate this linear equation to 0. And equating it to 0, we have x minus 2 is equal to 0, and your x will give us 2. After getting the value of x, then you substitute that x inside the bigger equation. Substituting the value of x inside the bigger equation, we have it as 2 cubed minus 4 into 2 raised to power 2 plus 5 into 2 plus 6. And what is 2 raised to power 3? That will give us 8. 2 raised to power 2 will give us 4 times this will give us minus 16. This will give us plus 10. And this will give us 6. And looking at this, our remainder is what? Is 8. So let's look at another question on that also.
Cut.
Now let's look at the second question. They said we should find the remainder when x plus 3 divides x squared plus 4x plus 6. The same process occurs. That means we are going to equate the linear equation to 0. Your x is equal to 3. And then you substitute this x is equal to 3 inside this equation. And what do we have? Minus 3 squared plus 4 into minus 3 plus 6. And minus 3 squared is 9 minus 12 plus 6. And this one will give us minus 6. 9 minus 6 will give us 3. And that is how we find the remainder. Now let us look at a question where we are not having a linear equation to divide. They said we should find the remainder when x squared plus 2x plus 6 divides x cubed plus 4x squared plus 5x plus 1. For this, we cannot make use of that theorem of equating the linear to 0 because we are not having a linear. So we have no other choice than to follow the long division. And following the long division, we have it as x squared plus 2x plus 6 divided by x cubed plus 4x squared plus 5x plus 1. That means we use the first x to divide the first x, and x cubed over x squared will give us x. If we use this x to multiply, that will give us x cubed plus 2x squared plus 6x. And then we subtract. That will give us 2x squared minus x plus 1. And this also will still divide this. What do we have? We have it as 2. Then you multiply. Multiply everything by 2. We have 2x squared plus 4x plus 12. And then we subtract. Subtracting minus x minus 4x will give us minus 5x, and 1 minus 12 will give us minus 11. And they are asking us to find the remainder. That means the remainder for this question is minus 5x minus 11. So when we are having a linear equation, we can always equate the linear equation to 0. We get the value of x and we substitute it inside the bigger equation to get our remainder. But when the function is not a linear equation, we have no other choice than to follow the long procedure. Now let us now look at another question relating to a variable. They said we should find the value of a if x plus 2 divides x cubed plus 2x squared plus 3ax plus 4, leaving a remainder of minus 1. So to solve a question like this, what we have to do is we have to equate this to 0. Equating x plus 2 to 0, your x is equals to minus 2. And then you insert the value of x inside the bigger equation. And if after equating the value of x inside the bigger equation, then the whole function or the whole expression will be equals to minus 1. So let's solve. We have it as minus 2 cubed plus 2 into minus 2 squared plus 3a into minus 2 plus 4. And everything will be equals to the remainder, which is minus 1. Now what is minus 2 cubed? That will give us minus 8. This is 4 times 2. That will give us 8. This time this will give us minus 6a plus 4 is equals to minus 1. And this will give us 0. We will now make our a the subject of the formula. And that will give us 6a is equals to 5. And our a will give us what? 5 over 6. And that is how we get the value of a. Let's solve one more question under this and then we take it to the factors theorem. They said we should find k if 2k x squared plus 4x plus 6 is divided by x minus 2, leaving a remainder of 2. How can we solve the same process? You equate this linear equation to 0 and your x will give us 2. After that, you substitute the value of x inside the bigger equation and that will give us 2k into 2 squared plus 4 into 2 plus 6. And it will be equals to 2, which is a remainder. So 2 squared is 4. 4 times 2k will give us 8k plus 8 plus 6 is equals to 2. And what do we have? 8k, we have it as what? As 14. And that will give us 2 minus 14. And our 8k will be equals to minus 12. And what is our k? Minus 12 over 8. And 4 can divide. If 4 divides this, we have it as minus 3 over 2. And that is the value of k. And that is that about the division of polynomial and the remainders theorem. And then this theorem is the same thing as the remainder. Because when we are saying something is a factor of something, that means that thing divides that element, leaving a remainder of 0. Like 2 is a factor of 8. 2 will divide 8, leaving a remainder of 0. Now for this, they said if x minus 1 is a factor of x squared plus 2ax minus 15, they said we should find the value of a. And it's still the same thing as the remainder theorem. But this one, they will not give you the remainder. The word factor or divisible means the remainder is 0. And then we equate this linear to 0. If you equate the linear to 0, your x is equals to 1. And then you insert, you substitute inside the bigger equation. And that will give us this minus 15 is equals to the factor. And when we are having the word factor, the remainder is 0. And what do we have here? We have it as 1 plus 2a minus 15 is equals to 0. And this will give us 2a minus 14. Minus 14 will come to the back. What do we have? We have 14. And what is your a? Your a is 7. And that is how we solve for a factors theorem. Now we are moving on to factorization. And when we are talking of the factorization, we want to look at two types or two aspects under the factorization. The first is when we are having the quadratic, and the second is when we are having the cubic. And when we are talking of the quadratic, let us look at this. They said we should factorize 2x squared plus 7x plus 6. And how can you factorize this? You multiply. The first and the last constant will give us 12. What are the factors of 12 that we can mix together to give us 7? That will give us 4 and 3. And how can you mix 4 and 3 together to give us 7? That will give us plus 4x plus 3x plus 6. Looking at this, what is common? 2x is common, we have x plus 2 left. And looking at this, what is common? Plus 3 is common, we have x plus 2 left. And that will give us what? 2x plus 3 into what? X plus 2. And looking at this, I believe we can now solve x squared plus 7x plus 12, because we are going to follow the same process. And looking at this also, let us look at this question. I love this question. They said we should factorize x squared plus 8x. Now there is nothing we need to do other than we have to look at it that what is common. And looking at it, x is common, and that will give us what? X into what? X plus 8. Now let me now give you another question trying to mix it with a difference of 2 squared. We have it as x cubed minus 4x squared. We have it as x cubed minus 4x. They said we should factorize. Looking at this, what is common? X is common. We have it as x squared minus 4. And looking at this, we can still factorize this, man. This is what? A difference of 2 squared. And that will give us x into what? Into x squared minus 2 squared. And that will give us a difference of 2 squared, which is x minus 2 and x plus 2. Now, let's now look at this last question under the quadratic, and then we end the topic under polynomial for under the cubic equation. They said we should factorize x cubed minus 5x squared minus 50x. How can you factorize? This just looks like a power of 3, but we are not going to take it to cubic. We are going to relate it with a quadratic, because looking at this, our x is common. Now, picking your x to be common, what do we have? X squared minus 5x minus 50. And this man is now a quadratic, which we can factorize. And how can you factorize? 1 times 50 is 50. What are the factors of 50 that will give us 5? That is 10 and 5. And how can you mix them together? Minus 10x plus 5x minus 50. And looking at this, what is common to this? X is common, we have it as x minus 10. What is common to this? Plus 5 is common, we have it as x minus 10. And what do we have lastly? We have it as x plus 5, and x minus 10. And that is how we factorize. And let us now look at the cubic, how we factorize a cubic equation. Now, when we are talking of a cubic equation, we have something like this. F of x is equals to x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2. They said we should factorize this. And how can you factorize? We are going to use the first constant to multiply the last constant, and that will give us 2. Now, what are the factors of 2 that will give us 2? That will give us 1 and 2. And now we are going to change it to what we term as the trial and error method. And the trial and error method in the sense that we are going to test when your x is equal to plus or minus 1 to get which exact one will give us a factor. Now, testing for x is equal to 1, let us substitute it inside the function of x. This will give us 1 minus 2 minus 1 plus 2. And looking at this, the answer is equal to 0. And that means x is equal to 1 is a factor. And since x is equal to 1 is a factor, that means x minus 1 is equal to 0 also is a factor. And then we are going to now make use of this linear equation to divide the cubic equation, leaving it in terms of what? Of a quadratic. And let's look at it. How can we solve? We will now take it to the long division by saying we have it as x minus 1 divided by what? X cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2. Now, this first x, we divide the first x, we have it as x squared. And this x squared, we multiply everything. What do we have? X cubed minus x squared. And if you subtract, this one will give us 0. Minus 2x squared minus x squared will give us minus 2x squared plus x squared. And that will give us minus x squared. And these two will come down. We have it as minus x plus 2. And the same thing, this x will divide this. And that will give us minus x. This time, this will give us what? Minus x squared plus x. And then you subtract. Subtracting it, we have it as minus 2x plus 2. And looking at this, your x also will divide, and that will give us minus 2. Minus 2 will multiply this. What do we have? Minus 2x plus 2. And when you subtract, what do we have? We have it. Now we have it as x cubed minus 2x squared minus x plus 2. And that will give us x minus 1, x squared minus x minus 2. And this is a quadratic equation, and then we factorize. And factorizing this, the factors are 2 and 1. So looking at this, what is common to them? We have it as x minus 1. X is common, we have it as x minus 2. Plus 1 is common, we have it as x minus 2. And that will give us x minus 1, x plus 1, and x minus 2. And that is how we factorize. Now let's solve the last question under polynomial, the factorization, and then we end polynomial. Now they said we should express 6x cubed plus 17x squared plus 14x plus 3 in terms of x plus 1, ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, how can we solve this? That means we are going to make use of the long division. And from this, they have said it that this is a factor of this. And let us test it. Let us equate this linear equation to 0. We have it as x plus 1 is equals to 0. That means your x is equals to minus 1. Equate it inside the bigger equation. That will give us minus 6 plus 17 minus 14 plus 3. And all this, looking at it, will give us 0. So that means x plus 1 is a factor of this. And since x plus 1 is a factor of this, we are not going to use that x plus 1 to divide the equation. So using x plus 1 to divide the equation, what do we have? X, we divide this, we have it as 6x squared. 6x squared times this will give us 6x cubed. This times this will give us plus 6x squared. And then we are going to subtract. Subtracting it, we have it as 11x squared plus 14x plus 3. X will divide this, and what do we have? 11x. 11x will multiply, what do we have? 11x squared plus 11x. And if you subtract, what do we have? We have it as 3x plus 3. X will divide this, what do we have? We have it as plus 3. This time this will give us 3x plus 3. And if you subtract, we have it as 0. That means since we are having the remainder as 0, therefore, the bigger equation, which is 6x cubed plus 7x squared plus 14x plus 3, will be equals to x plus 1 into 6x squared plus 11x plus 3. And then we are going to factorize. And factorizing this, we will multiply the first constant and the last constant. So that will give us 6 times 3 will give us 18. And what are the factors of 18 that will give us 11? That is 9x plus 2x plus 3. And looking at it, what is common to this? 3x is common. And we have it as x plus 3. 2x plus 3. And what is common here? plus 1 is common, we have it as 2x plus 3. And lastly, what do we have? X plus 1 into 3x plus 1 into 2x plus 3. This is how we factorize, that is the factorization. But they said we should get the value of a and b. That means to get the value of a and b, we are going to compare this with the equation. So if you compare this with the equation, that means your a will give us 6, your b will give us 11, and our c will give us 3. But all this is being factorized as x plus 1 into 3x plus 1 into 2x plus 3. And that is the summary of polynomial. And you can see that polynomial is very, very easy because we started from the definition of polynomial, we went on to the substitution, we went on to the addition, we went on to the subtraction, we went on to the multiplication, looking at the scalar, looking at the polynomial multiplication, and we went on to the division of polynomial, we went on to the remainders theorem, we went on to the factors theorem, and then we went on to the factorization. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. I remain my humble self, Tiziano. I love you all.